Yeah, I
They're
think
more
it was.
what?
They probably did that because they have. I said they probably showed the movie just like Matt said because they have a captive audience and they wanted to see their actual reaction. You know, instead of waiting for the public to see it, they already have a captive audience right there. And I'm sure that the guys in the naval, that was in the Navy and other services, they've seen things that, and I know that they have because I've talked to them, that many of us have later seen or seen before, but they've seen it on a grander scale in many wide open spaces.
Well, Matt, did you have any? Did any of you guys talk about seeing UFOs on that Navy ship at all, or can you tell us what kind of reaction did y'all talk about it after y'all left and dispersed out of the room, or tell me if you remember
Oh
anything?
yeah, it was the talk of the ship for about a week.
Well,
And
give us
several
an idea.
people, admitted. Several people admitted to seeing UFOs after seeing the movie. They weren't as closed-minded, and some weren't as closed-minded after seing it too. And
I think
the
1978
military
was
is full of
the.
the military is full of stories. I mean, you don't have much to do when you're stuck on a ship out in the ocean for month at a time.
Well, did you learn of any? Can you give us an idea? Because I want people to understand soft disclosure has been going on a very long time. And Steven Spielberg, I believe he had a deep insight with a lot of the guys in Ennead 9 and the group that came over and worked with Werner Erhard, L. Ron Hubbard, and even the guy, well, there's other guys. I can't think of them right now, but you know what I'm saying, right? There's always people that know. But go ahead.
Yeah, many people believe that Spielberg and several of the other directors out there had connections with the FBI, CIA, and the military, and they were being fed information in order to give it out as soft disclosure.
Right, I believe that too, and I don't think that people understand how this isn't new, but it's going to be in the UFO community. We're going to the level of we thought everybody would be awake, at least in the, I don't know if you'd say, we used to call it alien ET UFO community, and I wrote about it for years in the early 2000s, and we looked forward to Y2K, and I was a truck driver at that time, and that's when I went and bought 2 trailers on 35 acres of land, stuck it up in the hills of Kentucky, because I wanted to make sure I had a place to come home to if all the computers shut down. And I didn't think they were, so I was telling everybody they weren't. Of course, they didn't. But I don't even know why they did that. It was over something to do with computers and the time, and thinking that all the computers were going to shut down, and some of the computers that were set, I guess, to roll over. And anyway, did anyone of y'all remember? Yeah, did anyone of y'all remember that story, Y2K, and why everybody was concerned in 1999? Is that begin the millenniums or during the millennium?
Well, yeah, it's most computer programs end in a zero, and they figured they weren't sure that the computers weren't all going to shut down when it turned to the date 2000, because the computer programs end in zeros, and they thought possibly everything was going to shut down because of the zeros.
Yeah, that's what it was. All about nines and zeros and the way they were set. And that was based on the dates that they had programmed in them or something? Like we have the nuclear. Go ahead.
The computer program is binary. It's zeros and ones. And at the end of a program, it's always a 00 at the end, which cuts it off. So they were afraid that it was going to cut everything off when it happened.
Well, I
But they
think in
freaked
our
out when it
social,
comes to the Mayan calendar too.
yeah, you want to talk about that?
Well, when the Mayan calendar ended, everybody started freaking out, thinking that was going to be the end of the world because that was the last year the Mayans had written about. But that didn't come to pass either. I mean,
Well, no,
everything you hear one thing.
yeah, now that was a big confusion because that was that particular calendar, and there's a longer calendar than that that goes on for another 30 or 40,000 years by the Mayans. Yeah, and that was just that particular at the end of the calendar, and then it starts over again according to their beliefs.
Right.
You know, and it was the end of one age and the beginning of a new age. See, but everybody jumped on it's the end of everything.
Well, the
Right,
New
but
Age
they
was
don't realize
referred
that
to, right?
you can only hold so much on one thing.
I'm sorry, Kimberly, I didn't catch that.
I said that they don't realize that when you do a calendar, it can only go so far before you run out of space.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened.
Right.
There was
that
other
was
ones.
that was the they call it a Baktun. If I'm not, I could have
Right.
this wrong, but they discovered another calendar that they had that goes up further on. What a lot of people don't realize is what we see as the Mayan calendar was actually just a stone carving of the actual calendar, which was a movable mechanical object. And what everybody sees with the face on it and that is just a carving, a statue of it. The actual calendar moved.
Well, I haven't. I've studied all that back then, but I don't remember anything about a calendar moving. But that's pretty cool. You don't mean like a sundial on it. You mean did they have like the Antikythera mechanism?
Yeah. It actually rotated. They actually turned it each year, and each area showed each ring around it showed a different relationship with the stars, and it depended on if a certain face came up at a certain date. They considered that would be maybe a lucky day or a bad luck day, or this day you better not plant. I mean, it was pretty elaborate.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used it almost like what we do, the Farmer's Almanac.
Right. It was used like an almanac.
That's pretty cool. We're doing ancient history and new thought teachings all in the Ascension Age. So we expected the Ascension Age based on the word ascension that people thought the world was coming to an end in 2000, but we called it all the Age of Aquarius, which is really based on sun signs and going into Aquarius. And I guess that's still called the Age of Aquarius. And in today's time, I never liked the word New Age, but there's a whole history on that too, folks. But now, after 12/21/12, because of what we're talking about right now, is ages and eras in time, and the Stargate to the cosmos, and the alien Stargate, and life after life, and Steven Spielberg, and Where Were You When Close Encounters of the Third Kind movie was released as soft disclosure. And those of us in the Navy back then are coming together now in the Ascension Age and finding each other in synchronicity, deja vu, synchronous happenings, and that is also part of the Ascension Age. Can you hear that?
Oh, we sure did.
Well, I don't know where that came from, but I've heard it on my phone before, but I have no idea why I didn't touch nothing. And that sort of shocked me.
Somebody calling you?
Not me this time.
No, it didn't buzz or ring. That was Harry Potter music theme, and I hadn't heard that in a long, long time. So that was sort of coincidental. I was just talking about deja vu coincidental, and people, that is part of the ascension age. A lot of things are going to happen that we don't really know how or can explain, and I'm sure there's a logical explanation if you are programming my phone, which I know that is one of those sounds that I used to hear when my phone would ring, but I took it off a while back, and so it's stuck in there somewhere. But I couldn't tell you. I didn't touch anything. I'm sort of shocked that it played just then. So I guess we should mention that during the Ascension Age, there was going to be more magical things happening, and this is very true. And now, Kimberly, I would like you to get used to telling the story of what happened recently, or even how you wound up on my radio show. But I tell it one way and you tell it another. But we had that dream night too. I'm sure Mad was here to remember. But I'd like us to tell the story of how we met, or what you can remember about that story, and then I want to see what a Mad remembers. And then this is going to be like the Mandela effect. But just want folks, we talked about all kind of weird social paranormal stuff. But Kimberly, tell people how we've never met in person, but just hearing this phone, right? You know how we. What do you remember? How'd you wind up on this radio show?
Well, from what I understand, you sent me a friend request, but you said you didn't. But one came up and I answered it, and things just snowballed from there. And there was a lot of things that were similar that we have in common, and it just went on from there. The paranormal areas is what we usually talk about, and since that's the UFOs fall, I guess, under that category, or label, I should say, as many of them like to call the UFOs paranormal. But instead of, I refer it to them as being more normal than paranormal, because that's really what they are. Just because you can't tangibly touch something, that doesn't mean that it's just not there.
Well, that's true.
Perfect.
Imad, what do you remember about me and Kimberly? What's your story if you had to repeat it?
Well, you had said that you got a ding on your phone, and it was Kimberly, and that Kimberly said she got a friend's request from you. And you know, it happens. I've actually gotten a message on Skype. What do you call it? A talking message for another host from a guest, and I ended up interviewing him myself. I mean, stuff does happen.
We just really don't
weird.
know. I mean, yeah, you can explain it logically, or you can scientifically look at, just get the facts, stupid, like, or keep it simple, stupid, just accept it for what it is what we do. But then some of us like to look at it, tear it apart, find out all the details, time it, give it a linear timeline, and, finding a fact on every little thing. And it's each person you ask will be different. And that's when we started talking about the Mandela effect. And now, Ahmad, tell us what you think the Mandela effect is, because that came and went pretty much trending, but people have accepted it, and I'm sure there's movies being written about different things, timelines and stuff.
Well,
and then I'll let Kimberly.
As far as the Mandela effect, it's supposed to wear off, and things are supposed to mellow down, and people are supposed to forget about it, according to what I understand. What happened is up to debate, but a lot of people believe it was CERN, and that CERN had altered something in physics, which causes a Mandela effect, and it was possibly two timelines merging together, or two dimensions merging into one.